A book and a bear.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to part 2 of Throne of Glass. We're back, we've done it. Hopefully we can get through this second half of the beautiful book and wonder that is this book. I've said book too many times.
Fantastic. I was going to say, how many times are we saying book? Book.
It's in the name. All right, we all know what we're here for. Let's jump on back in. Quick recap.
Where we're at, Selena's been pulled out of a salt mine. She's competing in a championship. She's thinking some shit is weird as fuck. There's some weird sexual tension with the prince and the captain of the guard. And she's just getting some weird kooky dreams. It's fine. Oh, she's just found the secret tunnel.
Oh, yes, and there's a secret tunnel in her room.
Let's go.
Let's do it. Well, our main girl, Selena, has just had a dream that she's walking down a hidden passage and she finds herself with a tomb. And now, it's not esophagus. It's
sarcophagus.
Sarcophagus.
Sarcophagus. Not an esophagus.
It's not an esophagus.
It's not the tract from your throat.
No. The only time I've ever heard that used in a sentence, I think, was when someone was rapping it in the song Monster.
I definitely...
Like Nicki Minaj Monster?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
There's something about, like, hurting her esophagus because your schlong's too long and it's like, that's going to put her in a sarcophagus. They've rhymed them.
Lol.
And now because they've rhymed them, those two words are interchangeable in my mind. And
they are now the same.
Absolutely.
Well, we've seen the esophaguses of the king and queen, or a king and queen. We don't really know who they are yet. Turns out Queenie Bye has a word mark on it, which is unique. I'm picturing these as like the Egyptian hieroglyphics.
They're like runes as well. So if you've seen anything Shadowhunter related, that's how I imagine it as well. Just the runes they use in that.
Selena has seen a mark on the queen's sarcophagus. I can't say it. Please excuse me stumbling over the word for the rest of the podcast. Coffin, tomb shape. She sees a mark on it that she's seen before outside the clock tower with the gargoyles. And the whole room is actually covered in them, which is bizarre. Someone's just been a bit creative. She's also realising the queen has fae ears. So we're connecting all the dots. We're lining everything up and we're realising.
Moo cow. Kane's been in there doing some finger painting. There's a cow.
Yeah, there's a cow. Oh dear.
So he's like, I don't like Selena, she's a cow. Moo.
Oh no. That's how he faces it off against her in the final duel.
The end, he's like,
Moo.
You moo.
He's like stomping his foot like a bull.
Honestly, though, that threw me, Bryony. I don't know, she's a cow. Moo.
She said it like a toddler.
She did. That's why it threw me so much.
Okay, we've taken a really weird turn.
Anyway.
We're back in the tomb. Selena is putting all the dots together. She's realised she's in the tomb of Elena, the half-fake queen, and her soulmate lover, Gavin. Just let that sink in.
Gaza.
Gavin.
Fuck yeah, Gaza.
Yeah.
We've got all these amazing names and then we've just got Gavin. But bless his cotton socks. I'm sure he's relevant somehow. Yeah, turns out he was actually the first king of Ardalan, so yeah, pretty relevant. How do you become the first king? Do you just randomly wake up one day like, I have decided I'm now king?
This is my kingdom.
I am king.
It's all mine.
Thanks.
Yeah, mine.
Mine.
Mine. Every time someone tries to say, like, what the fuck are you talking about? Mine. It's like, excuse me, sir. This isn't your king. Mine.
Right. So we've decided we're the first king. We've woken up and we've declared it. He is now first king, and he marries Elena, not from the Vampire Diaries. She is the first
Not Elena
princess.
Gilbert.
No, not Elena Gilbert. She is the first princess of Terrasen. She also sees a sword in the room, which she knows Gaza, as he does, wielded against a dark lord called Erewhon.
Erewhon.
Its name is Damaris, which is a better name than Gavin. So
it is.
Says a lot.
The king's name, in fact, should have been Damaris, and the sword's name should have been Gavin.
Gavin, here's my trusted sword. Gav.
Gaza! Gaza!
Gaza! Run! Oh, dear. Well, she says the name out loud, and it's not Gavin. She says Damaris, and someone responds to her. She turns around. Turns out it's the ghost of Elena. She's standing there, speaking to her. Gavin's in the corner. That's fine. Elena says that the gargoyles on the clock tower are not just statues. They're actually guardians of the galaxy. Portal thing.
Guardians of the Galaxy?
I made a Marvel reference. Are you proud of me?
Oh,
I'm so proud of you.
Everyone, silly, watch it F out. Sorry, I'm not going to do that again.
I was waiting.
Oh, dear. Well, Elena then warns Selena that she has brought her here for a purpose. And it's like, well, I would hope the fuck so, because otherwise you're just disturbing my peaceful sleep for nothing. Her purpose is to stop and destroy a great evil. Ominous. We will not allude any further as to what such great evil would be. Figure it out
Absolutely
yourself.
not. It's only book one.
We've got time. She gives Selena something to protect her, which is like a little amulet. Beautiful, fashionable. Love it. Elena tells her to run, and like the wise little sausage she is, she does. She wakes up holding the coin. Which, imagine that. You just had a fucking weird dream where someone gives you something and you wake up holding it.
Yeah, it's like this coin-sized amulet. It's just like, oh, shit, where have you come from?
I would wake up and ask questions. I wouldn't just be like, you know what? Just chuck this bad boy on. Hey, it would look quite nice.
Actually, look, depends on how spiritual you are, because you might just go, well, that's a sign if I've certainly ever seen one.
True. I think I'd like to like sage the shit out of it first, because I don't want Gavin up in my business.
Don't know, is Gavin hot?
It's just his face on the amulet, and he's just like, titties.
Sorry for the disrespect, first king of Idleland, but get it better.
Next minute, like she's just sitting in bed, and then Kale busts in the door and wakes her up. Another champion has been found dead. And it's like, okay, cool. But once Kale leaves, she slips behind the secret door and goes and follows it to where she found the tomb in her dream. And shocking, there is the actual tomb there, but it doesn't yield any clues. Later that day, she ends up going to the library to view the dead body, because that's just what you do for kicks. Basically, this poor bastard's chest cavity has been split open and his vital organs removed. They have been yeeted from the chat. Even his brain has been removed, and someone drew word marks on the wall in his blood.
And we know who likes to do finger painting.
We know he likes to do finger painting, so that's all very concerning. Selena and Nehemia are chilling out, just casually discussing possible alive gargoyles on the clock tower like it's nothing, and what happened to the dead competitor, when Kane and Varen appear. And it's very Mean Girls. This is Regina George and possibly Gretchen. Kane tries to bait Selena into hitting him and makes a comment that shows he knows exactly who Selena is. So he doesn't believe that she's Lillian, and Nehemia helps Selena keep her head and they leave. But as they're leaving, we get this quote. Kane and Varian laughed, but she and Nehemia walked away, the princess holding her hand tightly, not from fear or anger, but just to tell her that she understood, that she was there. Selena squeezed her hand back. It had been a while since someone had looked out for her, and Selena had the feeling she could get used to it.
Oh, fucking fuck.
I love feelings. I love friends. Then Kale and Dorian are watching Selena train, and Kale is hoping that it will scare Dorian off because she's really getting back into her form at this stage. But honestly, it just makes Dorian horny, and me too.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's like that TikTok where it's like, she's a 10 but she's got a sword. That makes her a 15.
There's this woman on TikTok who literally just posts her like she's like some badass fucking, she just fucking is doing her shit, beating the shit out of...
For those that are audio only, Georgia's doing some karate hand gestures.
Chop. No, she's just like, she's doing obviously training of some sort, but it looks like fantasy style. She's beating the shit out of invisible monsters, and it's so fucking awesome. And she's dressed hot as shit. And I swear to God, I could spiral down that rabbit hole all day long.
All day.
Anyway, so Selena and Kale are reading in the library at some stage. We don't know when. Time is irrelevant. It's fine.
Yep.
Our girl is researching word marks, and we get this quote. It's interesting. Some theories suggest the mother goddess is just a spirit from one of these other worlds, and that she strayed through something called a word gate and found Aurelia in need of form and life. So basically what we learn is that word gates are both real and invisible things. Humans can't see them, but they can be summoned and accessed through using word marks. They're open to other realms, and she's basically going through all these books trying to get answers when a book appears in her pile called The Walking Dead. So skip to the next chapter. That night, Selena is attempting to play pool to decompress, but she sucks at it, which is very relatable. Force in general, we just can't do it. And we get this quote along with that, which is also very relatable, because we've all been there when you're just so enraged that you can't do something, that you just want to fuck everything up. And this is it. It stopped rolling at the edge of the pocket. A shriek of rage ripped from her throat, and Selena ran over to the pocket. She first screamed at the bull and then took the cue in her hands and bit down on the shaft. Still screaming through her clamped teeth. Finally, the assassin stopped and slapped the 3 ball into the pocket.
Beautiful.
I just picture
That's
her
me
just
playing pool. Literally.
I know, but biting the shaft, you should never do that. No.
I think
I was waiting for it.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, it was there. It had to be said. Torian happens to witness this little anger
moment
episode.
Biting of the shaft.
Biting of the shaft.
Yikes.
Thankfully not his.
No.
And he attempts...
No.
He attempts to teach her how to play pool, which generally means gets close to her body in all types of sexual ways, and it's really just the cute stereotype meet cute beautiful moment that we all know and love very well.
Love that.
It's very
like
obvious.
If you need to learn to play golf, if you need to learn to play anything where you need to swing, and they're like, oh, let me show you the proper technique.
From behind.
Just so happens we'll be touching.
Your ass will be against my shaft as you bend.
Your ass.
Your ass.
Your booty.
Your caboose.
Gavin's here again. With the Anyway.
Oh, gosh.
They end up playing pool for a couple of hours, and he arranges for some desserts to be brought into her, and it's like, say less, sir.
Yes, Dorian. Yes.
We get a lovely quote.
Absolutely.
He won every game, yet she hardly noticed. As long as she hit the ball, it resulted in shameless bragging. When she missed, well, even the fires of hell couldn't compare to the rage that burst from her mouth. He couldn't remember a time from when he'd laughed so hard. And that dynamic is very similar to my relationship, where I'm like, I am the best. And then when I'm not so good, it's like, shut the fuck up. There is no in between.
Absolutely.
That is so
I love that.
Yes. Well, they end up hanging out until she passes out, and they bond, and it's really sweet. We like it.
Do very much like it. I love their little friendship is forming into beautifulness. The next day, the competitors are sparring, and Varen makes a crude remark when Nox comes to Selena's defense, and Brulo ends up putting Varen and Selena in the ring together. Selena has had enough of pretending to be in the middle of the pack, and she's kind of like, well, if Kane knows who she is, she could be damn sure that Varen and Graven, whoever else fuck, they all know. So she doesn't even unsheath her sword and eliminates Varen in 3 moves. She's like, I've had enough of your shit. Good day, sir.
Does, and does.
Beautiful.
I just wish I had that strength.
Yeah.
The amount of men I could have put down in my path.
Beat the shit out of a man on a night out for no reason.
Just because.
If he was just staring at me wrong, I would just beat him. I would just fucking throw him off a cliff.
Off a cliff, yeah. You wouldn't beat...
Where are we getting... We're out in town, and now we've got a cliff.
I'd find one.
Like, we're going on a road trip.
First.
Get in the Uber.
Going off to a cliff.
I need to push you off a cliff. Sit tight. Buckle up.
I need to use my brute strength. Get in the car. Fuck it up. Anyway.
Okay.
So then we flash into Caltain's point of view, and she's sitting with the Queen, and we get this comment that she's been having like a really bad headache for the past week, which she's been using her opium pipe to deal with, but obviously it's not very chill to bust out your opium pipe in front of the Queen.
You never know.
So she's still trying... Yeah, depends on I don't think it's a very progressive situation in Ardalan, so...
Perhaps not, but her husband seems like a bit of a cunt, so she might just be like, hey...
Yeah, she might be like, I get it. Give that bad boy a big puff.
We just shove it up my nose quickly. No, that's not how we do it.
Still a little bump. Anyways, either way, Caltain is just trying to
I'm
wriggle
just picturing Queen Lizzie being like, I just need a little bump to get me through this fucking bullshit that is my own offspring. You're all fucking related somehow.
I saw a stand-up comedian talking about it, and they're like, oh, people imagine that, the royal family doesn't swear. And it's like, really? You think there's not been any day where Lizzie's gone, for fuck's sake?
For fuck's sake, Charles. Or William.
Andrew.
I just want you to... William, keep your pegging stories to yourself, son. No one needs to hear it.
No one.
Anyways, the moral of that is that Caltaine is basically trying to get closer to Dorian still. That's the thesis. So we move along because we forget Plantain. Selena and Kale are training. And Kale isn't sleeping very well while trying to solve these murders. And Selena isn't sleeping well because there's a hidden fucking door in her bedroom. So, they've each got their problems.
Fair enough.
Selena tells Kale that Kane knows who she is. And then their conversation is interrupted as another body has been found. Kale decides to bring Selena with him to investigate, which I think is actually quite a good decision. The body belongs to Varen. So they figure out that whatever is killing these people sharpens its claws, takes its time killing them. So, it likes to paralyze them, and Selena can tell by looking at the bodies and the burnt candles on the wall and the whole layout and everything that whatever kills the champions is cutting their ankles so that they can watch them while they sharpen their claws and just take their time scooping their organs out.
Oh.
So that's a bit fun. And they realise that there's a beast and a master because someone is calling the shots while this is all the scooping is happening.
Someone is in the corner like, all right, now I've got the camera. Okay, now just go over towards him, right?
Action.
Cut his ankles, good? Yep, good. All right, pause, cut, hold on. You've got to act more aggressive.
Varen, can you just keep screaming?
Varen, you've really got to act, you've got to do better. Do better. All right, you monster. Oh, shit, sorry. No, it's fine. Keep going. Action.
Varen, it's the role of a lifetime. You've got one shot. Go.
You're going to lose too much blood soon, okay? Just put effort in while you can. So then Dorian comes to visit her that night and they discuss music. Selena says that music makes her feel like she's creating and not destroying for once. Because remember, she's an assassin. And I feel like we all lose sight of the fact that assassin's job is to kill other humans. But still pretty cool. Anyway, she used to want to be a healer, and music reminds her of that feeling, which is sweet. They banter and it progresses into a little bit of hand touching, and Dorian ends up leaning a little bit closer to her, and it's like, ooh, where is this going? They're both really attracted to each other. The tension is building, but neither one of them takes the plunge, and it's like, well, come on. What else do you need?
I'll just go fuck myself then.
Yeah, no worries.
She might just indeed do that, actually.
She might. Not that we'd find out in this book. Does it get a bit more smutty as the series goes on?
A little bit, but it's not ACOTAR level.
Okay. It's more the romance.
YA. Like, it's definitely YA.
Yeah, definitely YA.
Okay, that's all right. I can get
There is, like, a couple scenes that are quite good. It's just the romance building and stuff that's good.
Yeah.
Which I do love.
It's more of a romance than a smut book.
That's okay. Well, let's jump into the next chapter. And now Stale Lettuce is watching Duke Huntington at dinner because he's just being fucking odd. This is the quote. I just
love how we've now got you onto the stale lettuce. Like, Bryony started this, and now it's just...
It's stuck.
And we also started this episode with Ellie being like, I pick Kale, and now she's like, stale lettuce.
In Kale's defense, he does get better as time goes on. Like, this series, he progresses.
In my defense, I had picked him without realizing he didn't like dogs. If I had picked up on that fact, my answer would have been very different.
Yeah.
Also, I like the less competition, the better in terms of men.
It's not only like the romance side of like between Kale and Selena and Dorian and Selena. It's also like their friendship. I think it's just like the way in which they journey alongside her. Like that's what I find is just like so irreplaceable. Like,
it's not your traditional love triangle that we've grown up with where it's like, oh, she's got to pick between the two and the two hate each other. It's like, no, they actually have something beautiful on their own.
They should all just grow up and fuck each other.
Yeah.
Moral of the story.
We'll send them a Katie Robert book and they'll be happy.
They will be. Everyone lives happily ever after. Right, we've taken a turn.
God. Again.
This is why we've had to do it in 2 parts, everyone.
Absolutely. You're like, small book, they can't talk that much. We can,
we can and we will.
We can and we will. What you don't see is the fact that we just shit talk for about half an hour before we even press record.
Literally.
I did say there was a quote. We're here. Here's the quote. Harrington's eyes became dark as his face cleared, as if he saw everything in the world for what it was and found no joy or amusement in it, which is a little bit concerning.
That's a problem.
That's a problem. If you're seeing someone and that's the synopsis you're getting from their expression, maybe don't stay in the same room.
Retract and exit the room.
Like when we talk about...
Look,
Listen. Stop, drop, and roll the fuck out of there.
Anyway, what we do notice is that Huntington has a dark ring on his finger as well. And I'm not sure if we've mentioned this. Guess who else has a dark ring on their finger? Cain.
Cain and the king.
They're secretly married. That's what it is alluding to.
They're the throuple.
They're the throuple.
They've read a Katie Robert book.
Oh.
There's schlongs coming out in all angles.
Oh.
The penile.
In every hole.
That's what the recording is of. The person who's recording, there's a guy dead on the floor and there's a throuple in the corner.
There's just penines everywhere.
The atmosphere.
There's blood everywhere. He's done his finger painting on the wall before he's fucked.
The word marks aren't made in blood, no. They're made in ejaculate.
They are made in semen.
They're in thick ropes of ejaculate.
Oh, guys.
Selena wakes in the night to the ghost of Elena at the foot of her bed, which seems like a very normal way to wake up. Elena is like, bitch, you must win this competition and look to your right, and then disappears. And Selena's like, what?
That's terrifying.
So the next day, there's another challenge, and it's identifying poisons, which we will learn throughout this series is not Selena's strong suit, I will say. She's not great at the poisons.
But I love this scene, can I just say? Like, this is one of my favourite scenes as well.
Yeah.
It's so good.
I love the challenges. I know some people don't like trials. I do. I'm a big trial gal.
Trials. Love them.
Me too.
Yeah.
And SJM does trials well.
Yeah, she does.
She does. So the trial is that she has to rank poisons from most deadly to least deadly, and then you would have to drink whatever one you think is the safest. And she's ahead of the others, but she's tossing up between her final two, and she's just not sure. But she looks to her right, and there's another competitor called Pelor, who his whole thing was that he might not be physically big, but he is amazing at poisons. And he's put what she thought was the water as the worst poison. So she follows suit and ends up winning the challenge along with Pelor.
So Nehemia and Selena are then walking one day, because that's probably my one criticism of the book. It is a bit jumpy with the plot. Like, we've now had 5 more challenges for trials. So,
yeah.
Another 5 competitors are found murdered. And it's like, okay.
Oh, they're walking again.
Yep. Here we are, we're walking, it's a day. That's all we know.
Yeah.
Time is just...
Time is a construct.
Time is just a construct.
This is a good scene, though, guys. It doesn't matter what time's doing, because do you know where we are? We've walked to the bloody dog kennels.
Yes.
And do you know who we find there? Dorian, surrounded by
puppies.
Puppies. Like, our hearts cannot cope in this moment.
No.
Dorian ends up pointing out, like, a weird dog from the litter who's just not acclimatizing, not socializing. And he says, like, this one's probably going to be killed because we can't give it out to anyone because it's just a bit odd. And Selena is like, no. The weird, isolated little dog must be mine. And I relate to this like 100%. I have always had a soft spot for the odd ones out with puppies. Like Rolly from 101 Dalmatians. He was just my favorite. And he always will be my favorite animated dog. So now, like, whenever the dog that I picked from the pound, Rex, he was just by himself. Like, he was so weird. And I was like, you know what? I'm weird too.
That one.
We'll bond.
Literally. And that's like what I always say whenever I tell someone about the story with Zeus and how he was obviously a rescue who was abused and he really, really hated males. And we were walking around the RSPCA and we really wanted to meet him, but he wasn't in his kennel at the time. So we were like, wasn't meant to be. But we saw him when we were walking back to our car. He was getting walked. And we stopped. We were like, oh my gosh, like we really wanted to come and see him. And then the lady was like explaining like, oh yeah, he's, on hold. And she was talking to me. And while she was talking to me, Zeus has gotten on his stomach because he's obviously part staffy. And his army crawl, done a little staffy army crawl over towards Aiden and has let Aiden give him a pat. I love the
staffy army crawl.
And the trainer was like, what the fuck? And like from that day onwards, it's just been like Aiden and Zeus against the world and also against me. It's it's a gang up on me. It's just such a soft spot for the ones that struggle and the ones that have the problems, even though it's so much extra work. It's so much work, but it's just so worth it to see how like happy they are. Before he was at the RSPCA, Zeus would be outside. And I'm like, now he's literally in our fucking bed. Like, he's got a queen bed all to himself.
He's got his own Audi.
He does have his own Audi.
Fuck. Spoiled.
Also, if you'd like a discount
code for Woody.
discount code for Woody.
Yeah.
Head up,
If anyone would like a discount code for Woody, my discount code is GDavis35. You get $35 off. Thanks.
So anyways, they part ways, and when Selena is alone, she finds Kane standing behind her, which is a bit unusual. And Kane is not mocking her like normal. He is being a bit unusual. Instead, he's like panting and then like choking himself with a big hand that gleams with the black ring. Because remember, he's in the throuple with the king and the Huntington. And then, without a word, he just runs away. And Selena's like, okay.
But then doesn't mention it again. She's just like, that was weird. On with her dad.
Yeah, she sends words to Nox and Pelor and is like, lock your doors and do not leave your rooms tonight. And that's about it.
Yeah, weird vibes. We are now in Kaltain's point of view in the next chapter, and she has basically been smoking some opium, as we know, to cope with the headaches. She basically speaks with Parrington and decides to deal with Lillian's bond with Dorian once and for all. Like, she's like, I'm over it. It has to end. Of course, because she doesn't know that Lillian is Selena. Tee-hee-hee.
And also, just for context, at this stage, she's at court because she's kind of given Duke Parrington the hint that she'll be his thing. And so she thinks she's playing Parrington while really trying to get Dorian.
Exactly. It's a whole kerfuffle. It's a royal scandal.
Whole kerfuffle.
We just need a peg involved, and it's just present day.
Anyway, so back in Selena's point of view, Nehemia comes to her room in tears because the king's forces have actually killed 500 rebels from Ilway, and that includes women and children. So Nehemia is extremely heartbroken about this, and it's really sad.
Fair.
Yeah, look, fair enough. Also, I got a notification on my phone as you were saying that, so I just started dancing because it was good news. And then you were talking about women and children being murdered, and I was like,
no. She's not dancing because the women and children are dead.
Later that night, Selena is having cramps. She's no longer malnourished like she was in the salt mines. So her period has come back, which is like good for you that your body is regulating, but also periods fucking suck.
Fuck being a woman.
It is.
Very, very glad that we are normalising women having to literally bleed from an internal organ on a monthly basis and continue to carry on with life. I like the fact that this is in literature because sometimes we all just need a motherfucking break, which is what Selena needed.
I know, like, I see people get really angry about the way they're like, oh, Sarah and her goddamn periods that she always has, there's so much menstruating. And it's like, yeah, because people fucking menstruate.
Yeah, it happens once a month.
I would prefer all of the details. Hell, I don't even mind if in a book she talks about when they need to go to the toilet, because that is fucking relatable.
It's normal.
And especially the fact that it's come back because it disappeared when she was malnourished. Like,
it all tracks.
I love it.
Yeah,
Right
and
there
men
with you.
don't understand it. Like Style Lettuce, who goes to her room while she's...
This bit.
Oh, God. And he's like, oh, you don't feel well? That sucks. And he continues to talk about other things. And he's like, oh,
He's like looking at the window and he's like, yeah, it's the massacre.
It's the massacre, yeah. You must feel really upset to the stomach given the massacre and all the people that are dead. And she's like, no, it's because my uterus is literally tearing itself a new asshole, trying to exit all of the lining because I didn't decide to give it a child this month. She outwardly vomits. And he's like, oh my God, you really are sick. And she's like, no, I'm not. I'm just on my fucking period. And he was like, oh my God, blood, women, blood from the vagina. I must leave.
So Dorian appears and is not at all put off by the fact that she's on her period. She's trying to tell him to basically fuck off, but he's really persistent. He's like that fly that won't go away. She ends up conning him into reading a smart book, which is great. We love this. And then basically switch to Dorian's POV, and he is a horny motherfucker, but his horny energy disappears when he considers how Selena must hate him for what his father's done to her people and to her. He ends up pouring his heart out to her in apologies and also says that he doesn't want to be a part of what his father is doing. As he leaves, he kisses her on the cheek, and we get this quote, "Good night, Dorian." As he left, he wondered why she suddenly looked so sad and why she'd pronounced his name not with tenderness, but with resignation.
Because she's quitting.
Just quit.
I do like, we get these moments with Dorian. Like, obviously there's an argument that he's a privileged white boy, prince, you know, conquering nation, all of that. But he's also just trying to, like, grow and make the best of it. Like, he's never been exposed to the actual downside of what his dad's doing. He's only ever been raised with the benefits of it. He's never seen it, and now he's seeing it and he's wrestling with it. So I feel like he just, you know, it's the bare minimum, but we should appreciate the journey. Kale has decided to trust Selena despite her history, which is a big moment for him because he's really been wrestling with it back and forth. And then back in Selena's point of view, she's walking with Dorian one day, and Dorian notices the necklace she's wearing, aka that the ghost gave her. And he's like, oh, hey, that looks like the Eye of Elena, this historical artifact that I know a lot about. He is correct, but obviously we do not confirm this. No. Back in her rooms, Selena drops something and ends up looking under her bed, only to find a fuck ton of word marks drawn under her bed. And she is immediately like, absolutely not. Runs, like, cleans them up, runs to the library.
What is all this semen under my bed?
All these thick ropes of ejaculate everywhere. So once she's cleaned up the rune marks, word marks, ejaculate, all of the things, she runs to the library only to find Nehemia there. And Nehemia can suddenly read and speak perfect Ardalan when she's been pretending that she can't. And this leads to Selena spiralling down a Nehemia vengeance quest shaped rabbit hole.
So it is Yulmus, which means that the final test is 3 days away and there are only 5 competitors left. Someone has left her a bag of candy, and of course, because she is our candy-loving, chocolate-loving gal,
sweet tooth gal,
she goes absolute ham on it, which is, again, very relatable. Yeah, very relatable. But we find out that it's actually from Dorian. And their interaction here is actually very cute because he comes to visit her. But, importantly, just to fucking yeet past the candy, because that's a great present, but this is better. He has a motherfucking puppy for her. And she turns to the puppy and she goes to him, if you ruin my shoes, I'll turn you into a pair of slippers. Understood?
Amazing. So cute. Imagine that. A boy that you're dating presents you with...
Not even.
A boy that you know presents you with a puppy.
A puppy.
I'm already like, we will be getting married on the 12th of December.
You see this? It is my undercarriage. Get over here.
Brain's just hoisted a leg up just for a visual of the undercarriage.
Bridesmaids reference.
My undercarriage.
Anyway, look, there is a ball to be had that night because Yulmus essentially means Christmas, but with Yules. Yeah. So, of course, it's a ball. Selena convinces herself that she must infiltrate the ball in case Nehemia attacks everyone, because it's like, of course, that's the reason. You just want to go because you can get dressed up like a fairy queen. So, Christmas, religious service, here we go. We're at a Yulmus church service, and Selena and Starlettus end up falling asleep on each other, which is a really cute and tender moment.
And then there are these weird blindfolded children, right?
It's either the beginning of a horror movie or a very bad joke.
Yeah, look. And
these weird blindfolded children.
They walk into a bar.
Why are they in a bar?
So anyway, there are these weird blindfolded children and they're in the church. They're not in a bar, they're in a church. And they are providing gifts from the gods to people, basically. She gets a gift from a goddess of hunting and protecting children, which means she is pro-life.
Oh, no.
Yeah, the assassin is pro-life.
The assassin is pro-life. And she gets a golden arrow, and basically Kale allows her to keep it.
He's like, the goddess has given you an arrow. I feel like I should probably let that one slide.
Yeah, I should probably let you keep that one.
It is funny, though, because pro-lifers generally don't really care about life once it is alive.
No, that's exactly right. They don't really. They're like...
Which is her.
She's pro-ending life.
She is.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, Selena has now dressed for the ball, and she looks fabulous.
Hot.
She's in a gown. It is. That's the Cinderella reference. That's the only Cinderella reference I get.
Exactly. This is it. FYI, I did get some tea. I did some research on Sarah J. Maas, and Throne of Glass was originally published with a small retailer as Queen of Glass, and it was much more Cinderella because Sarah J. Maas had this idea of, like, you know, when Cinderella's running out of the ball down the hallway, like, imagine if it's not Cinderella, but it's an assassin and she's running away because she's just killed someone.
Oh.
And that was how it started. I did my research.
Interesting. Because when you said it's a Cinderella retelling, kind of, I'm like, No. There are no pumpkins. There are no fairy godmothers.
There are no pumpkins.
Absolutely. A grand total of 0 pumpkins.
There are no pumpkins, but Elena is definitely the fairy godmother.
Yeah. Tane can be the ugly stepsister.
I was thinking Tane and Varen, but that also works.
Oh, yes. So she is now Cinderella attending the ball. She even has her Cinderella moment on top of the stairs where she like walks into the room and everyone stops and looks at her and she's up at the top of the staircase by herself and then she has to walk down and everyone's like, oh, who is it? Who's that woman? It's like
it's not Grandmummy Anastasia.
It's not. It is not that.
I'm trying to guess now when they're going to come. And, like, you just always catch me off guard, Bryony.
That one was a bit half-baked, obviously, but we got it in there, and that's what counts. Oh, God.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
That's never what you want to hear during sex. It was a half-baked attempt, but at least we got it in.
Oh, dear. Please continue.
Okay. So the room's stopping and looking at her, and it's either Cinderella or it's Hilary Duff. In Cinderella's story.
Fucking God, yes.
Oh, either one works.
And Chad Michael Murray is standing at the bottom of the stairs and he's looking up at her like, anyway, stale lettuce grabs her before she gets any further down the stairs. And he was like, what the fuck are you doing here? I thought I left you in your room. And she's like, you thought wrong.
Surprise.
Go put yourself in a salad. He does not. He allows her to stay. So she continues just to like lurk around and she wants to keep an eye on Nehemia. And eventually Nehemia comes up to her because they're a little bit weirdly frosty at the moment. Weird vibes. She comes up to her and says hello and her thick accent has returned. So it's like interesting. And then she's like, all right, I'm going to take my leave and go to bed. And it's like, okay, see ya. And then she's speaking with Kale afterwards and she's starting to realise just how handsome he is for stale lettuce. But Dorian breaks up the moment and he's like, may I have this dance?
See, this is the whole thing, because I'm pretty sure Selena initially asks Kale to dance with her, and he says, no, fuck no. And then, because Dorian's dancing with this blonde-haired or brunette person who's got giant titties.
He's dancing with so many people.
And he keeps staring at her titties,
giant.
And Selena keeps noticing. Which, like, I can't blame him. But... yeah, so that's a whole vibe. So she's obviously like, well, fuck you, Kale, even though you're handsome as hell now. You said no. So anyway, we move to the next chapter and we get this quote, which is from Dorian. He was lost in a world of which he'd always dreamed. He's so smitten and he's dancing and life is magical and it's beautiful and it's basically, Kale is watching them dance when he is approached by a courtier who thinks that Dorian looks like he's in love with her. No one is surprised. Dorian follows Selena back to her rooms and kisses her. It doesn't go further than that, though, and it's honestly a very, very sweet moment. But Dorian is just like, that is it for me, guys. He has leapt from the cliff of love and he is diving headfirst into the power of the pussy. He's just yeeted.
She's definitely... have you guys heard of Vabing? No. Vabbing.
Oh, you mean the vagina juice dabbing?
She's definitely put vagina juice on her
neck. She's done a whoop.
The pheromones.
A little dab.
You want to hope that wasn't on a discharge day because that shit's coming out like cottage cheese.
She's got a fucking period.
Like... oh, that's true.
He's like, I love the spot of red on your neck.
Oh, have you got a bit of a hickey?
That is not red lipstick she's wearing tonight. No,
No. It's period. It's just period.
It is period blood. Juices on her face. Anyway, we get this quote, which is, consequences be damned. He'd find a way to make it work. He'd find a way to be with her. He had to.
Strong words, Dorian. It's just a kiss.
He is literally dived off that cliff into the power of the pussy.
Dorian, just calm down. Just calm down.
He's coming on a little bit too strong, and maybe these were the vibes that I was picking up on that I wasn't into.
So we leave that moment where it's all cute and sunshine, right? Dorian's like, oh my God, I love her after 13 weeks. It's completely fine. And then we go into this heartbreak, which is from the garden. Kale is watching Selena waltz by herself like she's in a daydream. And we get this quote, even from a distance, he could see the blush upon her cheeks. She seemed young, new. It made his chest ache. Still he watched until she sighed and went inside. She never bothered to look below.
Oh, no.
Kale!
That's so sad. But he also rejected her when she asked him to dance.
It's giving me big, like, class gap romance vibes.
Yes. The down below. It is. Well, speaking of, Dorian, the prince, he comes to see her the next day, and she finally decides to name her puppy Fleetwood Mac. But not.
Oh my god, not Fleetwood Mac.
Not Fleetwood Mac.
Fleetwood Mac Fleetfoot, which is interesting. What type of dog are we thinking? Is it like
a wolf? It's a
wolfhound.
wolf cross golden retriever.
I'm obsessed.
It's a giant golden retriever, basically.
A giant golden, but right now it's a puppy, so it'd be all fluffy. Okay, I'd like one. They then talk about the kiss and how they enjoyed it, which I find is awkward. Like, just kiss again. You don't need to talk about it. It's fine. It's all lovely until he sees scars on her back, and he says they're awful. It's like, well, thanks. That's hurtful. But also,
no shit, Sherlock.
he just likes to point out the obvious, doesn't he?
He's like, oh my god, look at you and your traumatic backstory. You pulled her out of a salt mine.
Yeah, you literally pulled her out of a salt mine. Like, what do you expect?
Where she was a slave.
But she says to him, we all bear scars, Dorian. Mine just happen to be more visible than most.
Good quote, Sarah. Good quote.
Very wise, very wise. But now we jump into Caltain's point of view. And Huntington has told her about the competition. And she was like, what's this going on? And he asks her to poison Selena at the final trial, as she will need to drink from a blessed cup. And she's like, this sounds bad and wrong, but I want the prince's dick. So I'm going to do what I'm going to do, and I'm going to poison the assassin. Fuck it up. YOLO.
Seems like a great idea.
But anyway, so Selena is reading about word marks and comes across the ones that she had seen near the bodies. We get this quote: "For sacrifices to the Ridderak, using the victim's blood, mark the area around it accordingly. Once the creature had been summoned, these marks guide the exchange. For the flesh of the sacrifice, the beast will grant you the victim's strength." Which is fucked up. So basically, whoever the master is gaining the strength of all the victims, of all the champions. So that's a problem. Anyway, so Selena begins to believe that Nehemia is summoning this beast called the Ridderak to start an all-out rebellion. She basically dives into the secret tunnels to explore, but stumbles upon our friend Kane. And he's not A, shooting thick ropes of ejaculate, B, finger painting on the walls. He is C, doing some kind of weird ritual.
Summoning a spooky thing.
He is. And I'm also a little bit annoyed that, like, the world's greatest assassin is still like, Nehemia must be the one that's behind this. Not the man who suspiciously is growing stronger and stronger every time I see him. Also wears a weirdly black ring with a gleaming hand.
Yeah. It was super, like, not going to look at the obvious, going to look over here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, there's got to be some deeper meaning here, but really it's just the guy that is actually increasing in size.
It is. You know, the weird one who tried to choke himself in front of you and then ran off without explanation.
That one.
Turns out there was more into that.
Yeah, it's like, she's like, no, that's too easy. It has to be something else.
Anyways, the thing called the Ridderak emerges from the word gate. We've got this quote. "It was something out of an ancient god's nightmares. Its hairless grey skin was stretched tightly across its misshapen head, displaying a gaping mouth filled with black fangs. Its vaguely human body sank onto its haunches, and it slid its long front arms across the stone floor." And I'm kind of just picturing like a sphinx hairless cat on a human.
I'm just picturing, like, the werewolves from Harry Potter, like Remus Lupin in the Forbidden Forest.
Yes,
that would make more sense.
Exactly it.
Not a hairless cat.
Not a hairless cat. Okay, fair enough.
But both are scary. Selena goes to, like, yeet it on out of there, but then they hear her, and Kane ends up locking her in the tomb dungeon situation, basically with the Ridderak, to be like, it's your turn. Dinner's up. Ding, ding, ding. And we get arguably our first taste of a Selena plan. Like, as you come to know her, she's a scheming little bitch. But this is the first one we get. So I really want to celebrate this moment. The Ridderak is like getting ready to charge for her, and as it leaps for her, she like jumps over the top of it. So it goes under, she goes over, and then like legs it to Elena's tomb. It's like breathing down her neck, but she grabs Damaris, the ancient king's sword, and she swings and it bites her hand, but she still gets it and beheads the thingamajiggy. She ends up stumbling back to her room with her bleeding hand that won't stop bleeding, which is a bit concerning, and she's losing her strength fast, and we're kind of figuring out that there's possibly something in the bite, but anyways. She ends up passing out to the sound of Nehemia finding her and taking care of her. When she does wake up, Selena is healed. Nehemia is there with her, and they end up basically telling each other the truth. Selena tells Nehemia that she is, in fact, Selena, not Lillian. And Nehemia starts to be judgy at the fact that if she wins the challenge, she'll be the king's assassin. But Selena literally doesn't have a choice. And the quote we get is, "Just know that there's not a moment that goes by when I don't wonder what it will be like to kill for him, the man who destroyed everything that I loved."
Nehemia ends up sitting with her in bed, and we get this quote. "Names are not important. It's what lies inside of you that matters. I know what you went through in Endovia. I know what my people endure there, day after day, but you did not let the mines harden you. You did not let it shame your soul into cruelty." Fuck. And then we get this. "You bear many names, and so I shall name you as well." Her hand rose to Selena's forehead, and she drew an invisible mark. "I name you Elentia." She kissed the assassin's brow. "I give you this name to use with honor, to use when other names grow too heavy. I name you Elentia," which means the spirit that could not be broken.
But imagine that, walking over to your friend being like, "Hi, I'm now going to bestow a name upon you, which I think is fitting. Your name shall be Stephen."
But yeah, so that's fucking traumatic. But Selena ends up feeling this unconditional love and thinks how fortunate she is to have been able to find a friend like Nehemia. And we are all very happy for her.
So happy for her to have friends. I love friendship.
We then fast forward after they've had this beautiful chat to the next morning where Selena is sparring with Kale when the king arrives to the castle. Dun, dun, dun!
Uh-oh. And, well, the king is more fucking odd than usual. And Selena is picking up the same vibes from him that she's getting from Cain. And remember what Cain likes to do? It's not that. It's not finger painting and thick ropes of ejaculate. It is summoning demons and taking their strength after they kill its victims. So she's like, interesting. Just going to disregard that and move on with my day. Mm-hmm. Then we get Kale, and he's trying to figure out how the king was the only one who made it back from his super secret journey. Everyone else is dead. And it's like,
yeah,
odd.
That seems sus.
That seems unusual.
That is odd. Did you eat them? Where are they?
Very odd. But anyway, Kale is struggling basically internally with how he feels about Selena and their relationship. He trusts her and he wants to protect her, but now that she's essentially back to full strength, his masculinity is in extreme detriment. He's very scared of her. He wonders how he can basically release her to the world with all the anger and the built up like burning fury when she wins. He's like, how can I do this with a non-guilty conscience? And it's like, you, sir, don't have to do anything because you are not in charge of her. Do you understand? No.
There is a difference.
Yeah. The day before the last test, Selena warns Nox to get out. And we know I love Nox. And we get this beautiful encounter where, like, she's being like, if I literally had any other choice, I would be leaving, but I can't. And he's like, I think I'm picking up what you're putting down. And we have this moment where he realizes who she is because he's so smart. I love him. And he wishes her the best and basically says, like, his money is on her, like, winning it, and sneaks off into the night without another word. I love him so much. It's fine. In Caltain's point of view, because she exists, we get more of her point of view than we do of Nox, and I love Nox. She needs to lay off the opium, though. That's the problem. She's a bit well cooked, and at one stage, Kane approaches her and is just like a smear of black in her vision, and all she can hear is the sound of like wings beating.
It's actually just someone beating off in the corner.
It's Kane beating off to ejaculate on the walls.
Oh no! Do you remember that we referenced beating eggs?
Oh yeah. So, Kane is just walking past, beating.
She's like, someone's flapping their wings.
It's just Kane making an omelette.
Well, turns out it wasn't egg beating or wing beating. It could have been wing beating, but it's all in her mind.
That's why you don't do drugs, kids, because you'll have a bad trip and you'll think it's wings beating, but it's just Kane beating some scrambled eggs.
Or beating off.
It is.
We're unsure yet.
Unsure. But I hope they'd make different noises, and I hope for one of those situations he would be in private, not just walking past like a hall. Anyway. Later that night, Selena and Dorian are playing chess, and he ends up holding her hand because that's all we can do in these books, which is fine. I'm still here for the romance. And he tries to kiss her again. And she goes, I saw your daddy. And he's like, oh, that's weird. Let's take a step back. He starts to question if she's okay because she's shaking, and she's now like, now is not the time for questions. Instead, let's recommence kissing. And he's like, yes, okay.
It's just a lot of whiplash.
It is. And as she falls asleep that night, she has a nightmare of someone on horseback chasing her along a river. Which is like, is this a past dream? Or is she having weird future dreams? We're unsure. We will discover all, I'm assuming, later. She wakes up holding the eye of Elena, and later on is told that the final duel is occurring tomorrow.
Dun, 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 dun.
So, Dorian has gone hunting with his daddy and a few other people. But really, he's not hunting. His head is not in the game. His head is in Selena's pussy.
Oh no, it's like Troy Bolton writing next to something.
Get your head in the game. Get your head in her pussy. You gotta get it.
Why am I feeling so wrong?
We know why.
Because his head's in Selena's pussy anyways.
All of Selena's inner monologues about Dorian is basically that he's really lovely and handsome and she's attracted to him, but there's nothing more, while he definitely wants more. We get this quote. She haunted his thoughts, made him wish to do grand and wonderful things in her name, made him want to be a man who deserved to wear a crown.
God.
Yikes.
Just like changing his whole personality.
Yeah,
Dorian.
But Dorian
so
knows
much.
that she doesn't want him the same way. Like, he knows it. But I think as well, I really started to figure out in this point that Dorian needed someone to be in love with. Like, I think this was his whole thing. He needed to feel like he deserved to wear the crown. He knew that he had to be the one to wear it because his brother's just fucked. But I feel like he needed to find someone, like he's one of those people that needs someone, if that makes sense. That's his whole thing through.
He needed a catalyst for some character
That's
growth,
exactly right.
He did.
And I feel like Selena is a good, like, as you go on through the series, I feel like everything that he goes through, it's just like, you know, I don't want to go into too much detail, but
they're weirdly mirrors, without going into too much detail, because again, obviously, this is Ellie's first read through and we're trying to be very, very supportive of the journey. For once, Ellie's actually not giving spoilers, but there's a lot of mirroring between them and what they go through, and like there's a lot of parallels so that they can obviously mirroring reflect back at each other particular qualities.
Yes, yeah.
There's a lot of mirroring going on, so they can in fact mirror each other. And
They can in fact mirror
qualities.
They reflect
because they're mirrors
in reverse.
Yes, and
through your service.
mirrors, such of that. Anyway, so it's the final challenge, and we're in Caltain's point of view. She basically slips that poison into the goblet meant for Selena before the champions arrive.
The poison made specifically to kill Selena. Selena's poison.
Selena's poison.
Selena's poison.
I'm on my way to kill Selena.
Once everyone arrives, including Nehemia, who's like dressed as a warrior with a wooden staff, which just seems a bit like everyone's there, and Nehemia all of a sudden knows there's a competition and is just like, This is fine. No one will question while I'm here.
I am ready.
But so everyone's there, and the king declares the rules for the final duel, and Selena thinks to herself, I will not be afraid.
Trauma.
First fight is Cain and Renault, because he exists. Kale points out all the weaknesses for Cain as they watch the fight, and unfortunately it's not much to point out because Renault doesn't even last 3 minutes. Eek.
Well, now it's Selena versus Grave, which is like, game on, Mole. Let's get into it. Selena goes to choose a blade, and Kale offers his captain's sword, which is like,
oh my gosh.
Oh my god, it's a big fucking deal, stale lettuce. Jesus.
Need to come out with that one, stale lettuce.
Yeah. He's like, I present you, Gavin. No. Oh dear. No. Just his sword. And then Nehemia offers Selena her staff. Wooden staff, not just her employees. She says she knew what the princess was asking of her.
Not just employees.
Well, the slaves running out like...
They are. Not the slaves. They're all dead, remember?
Oh, they're all dead.
Oh, fuck, they are.
They are. Oopsie. No, it's just a wooden staff. Well, anyway, the point is, she knew what the princess was asking of her. As the king's champion, she might find ways to save countless lives, ways to undermine the king's authority. So it's sort of like a bit of a
dig.
So she accepts the staff, which I do not agree with, because how on earth is a stick of wood meant to hold up against a blade?
Well, that's it, isn't
like, it? The physics of that.
That's the question.
Anyway, but what would I know? I'm not an assassin. So she turns to Kale and thanks him for making her freedom mean something, and then goes and steps into the ring.
They're so sweet, both of them.
So this is when I was like, I like their relationship and connection.
Yeah. I like, again, reading this book, I was kind of just like, wherever we go, I'm happy for the journey, but I definitely liked the Selena Chow. I nearly said it again, for fuck's sake. Oh my god. So, the fight between Selena and Grave kicks off, and Selena is in beautiful form, using Grave's own attacks against him, which we love, and she ends up handing his ass to him in 2 minutes. So suck that, Cain.
Yes.
And at the end, when she's like, handed Graves ass to him, she's like, my name is Selena Sardothian, she whispered, but it makes no difference if my name's Selena or Lillian or bitch, because I'd still beat you no matter what you call me. And then she tosses her hanky onto him and is like, clean yourself up.
Clean yourself. Goodbye,
my
dear
God.
sir. I love this. It's everything.
Amazing.
It's just so good on so many levels. And then next up is obviously the final fight between Cain and Selena, which is obviously what the whole book has been leading to. And they're given wine in blessing to the other, or whatever the fuck. And Selena takes a sip of her wine with not even doing a single sniffy.
Nope.
And then,
she does not do the sniffles.
We know what that means. Again, poison is not her strong suit. So the fight starts, and almost immediately things are getting a bit hazy.
Uh-oh.
Cain is beating her, and she realises at this stage, a bit late, but she realises she's been dosed with bloodbane and will start hallucinating soon. So that's lovely.
Good.
But before she can do anything else, Cain breaks the staff with his sword. Because, and she starts fading in and out.
Yeah, and then we get straight into... So Dorian basically knows something is wrong, but he can't interfere because Daddy's around. We get this quote, which is, something in Kale began fraying as Selena raised her bloodied face to look at Cain. We move on, and Cain is stalking towards her and basically is taunting her. He's asking what her dad would think of her now, asking how it felt to wake up between her parents, covered in their blood. And Kale can't help but wonder how Cain knows so much about his history.
Look, that's a very fair
also,
question.
Why you bring her parents into this? That is no. This is just a fight.
There's lines.
You don't
There's
cross
lines.
them. He's just yeeted right over those lines. He's ejaculated right over those lines.
Jesus. Given he is literally like snorting the essence of his dead competitors, just to give him the upper edge, I feel like the line is getting gone.
It is. Look, that's true.
He's actually snorted the line. That's the problem.
Fuck, that's good.
That was good.
But yes, so Selena starts to hallucinate, but she can hear basically Kale telling her to get up. Kale basically gets down to her level as she's lying on the boundary of the arena and begs her to get up. And we get this quote, which is, and in that moment, somehow his face was the only thing that mattered.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, this progress is short-lived. And she goes into full-blown demonic hallucinations, which...
Haven't we all?
Yeah, it's just an average Friday night. Oh, dear. Well, Dorian and Kale, all they can do is watch on in horror, and Nehemia ends up walking to the edge of the circle. And she starts like weirdly drawing symbols in the air with her fingers.
Can we just clarify? So the king's there, the duke is there, everyone's there watching. Nehemia is at this super secret assassin fight. No one's blinking an eye. She's at the circle drawing.
I know. It does reference that she's covered in the folds of her skirt, but all I can picture is her little hand being like...
She's not doing a Doctor Strange, like...
No.
Anyways, it's completely inconspicuous.
No one knows. Just as Selena is about to be consumed by a demon within her mind, Elena appears. And Elena is able to hold the demons at bay and remove the poison from Selena's body, but nothing more.
Because she's got like a broken arm at this point and stuff as well.
Yeah, she's well fucked.
She dislocated her shoulder in one, I don't know, punch or whatever, and then he's thrown her after that and it relocated in the fall. It's like, yes, delightful.
That's so nice of you, Kate.
Yeah, thank you.
He's got that back in for you.
He has. So Elena tells her, do not be afraid. And we've heard that before, haven't we? Haven't we?
Yeah.
Selena Saradothian then stands once more.
And at this stage, because things can't get even more cooked, a symbol starts to glow on her forehead. Yeah. Kane hesitates in shock. And he's like, is that my jizz on your forehead? And that's all.
Oh, no.
He's gone. Actually, no, that's what Kale's done. Kale's down at 11 and has gone, this will give you strength. Simba.
She ends up using the shock and the gap that provides and buries the jagged, broken employee of LA into Kane's.
That poor old sausage has just rocked up to work and it's been like, oh, I'm in a battle now, okay. Can I have a raise?
No, I need HR. Anyways, it's the staff of Elway, not the employee, in case you didn't pick up on that. But, which she jabs it exactly where Kale had said Kane had a weak spot. So she was listening. It was all great. She then slashes both of his arms just to be thorough, which I appreciate. She holds off from delivering the killing blow and looks at the king, being like, what do you think? And the king's like, well, that's fair. You're the winner. At this stage, Dorian rushes to her side because, again, Kale and Dorian couldn't actually help her because if they stepped into the ring, basically the fight was done. She was blood and she'd be sent back off to Endovia, which she won't recover from. So they've just had to watch all of this. So then they rush in and they summon a healer. And as Dorian turns to shout for a healer, he misses the look that passes between the king and Kane. Kane reaches for a dagger to stab Selena in the back, but Kale sees it. And we get this quote, without thinking, without understanding, Kale leapt between them and plunged his sword through Kane's heart.
That's going to fuck him up.
That's our Kale coming through.
Yeah.
It is, because it's Kale's first kill, so he's in shock and he's basically taken away by some guards to, like, go to HR, really.
Isn't
and Dorian
it bizarre, though, that that's his first kill? Like, he's captain
been a little boy
of the
of
Royal
privilege.
Guard. True. But
He's been a
captain
little
of
boy
the
of
Royal
privilege.
Guard.
Yeah, but the captain isn't
He's
a soldier.
never had to do it. He'll delegate that task.
Yeah, he's a captain.
He's a
Captain,
delegator.
not a soldier.
Yeah. Dorian, at this stage, goes, fuck the system, and scoops Selena up and carries her to her rooms. The quote we get is, he was done with politics and intrigue. He loved her, and no empire, no king, and no earthly fear would keep him from her. No, if they tried to take her from him, he'd rip the world apart with his bare hands, and for some reason that didn't terrify him.
Ooh.
Whoa.
Terrifies
Whoa,
me.
Dorian. Dorian, calm down, you've known her for 13 weeks. And then at this stage, once everyone's gone, Cowtain's like, oh my God, I thought that was going to work. And Duke Huntington is like, well, wouldn't this be a perfect opportunity to frame you for everything that's just happened?
Mm.
And Cowtain is basically taken to the jails.
Yikes.
Uh-oh.
So basically the next day, Dorian stands before his father, and we find out that Kale will not be punished for killing Cain, but the king is still undecided on Selena's worth because obviously she was flapping around destroying these invisible demons.
Yeah, she was having time.
So Dorian tries to defend her honour, but his dad gives a grand total of 0 shits. We have this quote. She has you at her beck and call, doesn't she? Oh, how clever she is. What a politician she'd have made if she had been born a man.
Oh.
Which, again, in that quote, there is, like, already 2 exclamation marks, which is one too many.
Yes.
Young Sarah J. Maas was a big fan of the exclamation.
She's screaming in every sentence. But that's just a whole fucking ew, and that is also just, he's a fucking idiot.
He is.
Dorian realises that the king now obviously has figured out that Selena is Dorian's weak spot, which is never smart to reveal your weak spots to the enemy. Eek! But yes, so weirdly, his father ends up hearing him out about not launching a all-out assault on Ilway.
It's the Duke. The Duke is basically pushing because the Duke's keep in Morath is near Ilway. And I believe. And the Duke is pushing to, like, invade Ilway in full force because they've got all these rebels, so we might as well just deal with them. And Dorian is like, props, don't do that. Seems like a bad idea. But we sidestep that because plot. Back in Selena's point of view, Nehemia confirms that she saw everything Selena did and that she essentially saved Selena's life. Everything Selena saw, the demons, everything like that was real. It was not, in fact, a hallucination, and neither Selena or Nehemia know what the mark on Selena's forehead means. They don't know that it's just Cain's jizz.
Yeah.
So the next day, Dorian visits her, and obviously she's worse for wear. She's had a really rough time. She nearly died, and he ends up lying in bed with her and apologising for not being able to save her. They comfort each other, and Dorian says that he is grateful that she came into his life. So that's beautiful, right? So we leave that sunshine moment, and then we're in the king's point of view.
Which is just why.
Alarming. And he's speaking with Duke Huntington about their power. They are talking about the influence their power has on the physical body, like Cain and what they were doing to him, and also on mental things, like what they were doing to Cowtain, and that they're going to keep looking at their matching black rings and talking about all their plans because big things are coming to the continent.
Yikes.
Uh-oh. Scary times. Well, a week after the duel, Selena is still recovering. And Stal Lettuce comes to see her and he is super, super duper awkward, which is, like, unfortunate for him. And he apologises for not coming sooner, but he isn't wearing his sword because he needs some time off for killing one person. She ends up hugging him, but Dorian breaks up the moment. And it's like a weird little intrusive love triangle, but not love triangle, because no one actually is in love apart from Dorian. But he has come to tell her she can sign her contract as the king's champion tomorrow. He goes to kiss her, and she's like, look, it's not you, it's me, but it is also you because you're coming on way too strong and giving me the ick, so can we just be friends?
I just love Dorian. Also, I don't think he could ever give me the ick. He does come on too strong, but I just love him. I think he's a little sweetie, but I think it's also because I have read the entire series.
Okay, book 1, he's giving me the ick because he's too strong. He's just... So she's like, I'm going to be your dad's secret super spy for the next 4 years. And then I'm like, getting the fuck out of here. So, like, I can't be your queen. So,
which is fair.
Sorry.
But friends?
Yeah, but friends. And he agrees to still be a friend, but he's just a bit soft.
Yes. the next day or the next, I don't know, time is irrelevant. Kale is looking for Dorian. He can't find him, and he ends up going to Selena's room. I keep changing between Selena and Selena, but fuck it up. But she basically tells him that she ended things with Dorian. And he sits down with her, and they have some dinner, and they have a good chat. And they do like a little cheers moment. And she's like, cheers to 4 years until freedom. And then he goes, to you, Selena. And that is really beautiful.
It is.
That is sweet.
That night, Selena dreams of Elena. She touches the mark on Selena's forehead and says that when Selena is ready to hear the cries of the world, then she will know why Elena came to her and what her role is. Elena promises that she will continue to watch over Selena, no matter how many times she pushes her away, because blood ties cannot be broken.
Blood ties.
Mummy?
Mommy?
Mummy?
Now remember, her parents are dead.
Grandmummy?
Grandmummy?
It's me, Anastasia.
Remember, she's the main character. She's got to be an orphan.
That's right.
That's right. We must have parental trauma. The next day, Selena is brought before the king to sign her contract, and she thinks to herself that she'll do everything he asks just so she can be free. And the king leans in and whispers to her that if she doesn't return from a job in time or complete a task, that he will kill Kale and then Nehemia and anyone else she could care about. And it's like, that's a little bit harsh. And also not in the contract that I just signed. That was just like a verbal agreement I'd had no part in, so good luck with that.
Good luck that holding up in a court.
Exactly right.
Fair Work Commission would not agree with that statement.
Nehemia's staff will be on to that. But the book then ends with Selena and Kale leaving the throne room, promising to discuss the first mission tomorrow.
That's it.
That's it.
That's book one.
Whew. We did it. We did it. We do have some music references. Ooh! So, firstly, Wreak Havoc by Skylar Grey. And it really gives me, like, Selena as Ardalin's assassin vibes. Like, it's just badass. I love it. Basically, any song by Ruel, because, like, she's the fantasy queen.
Literally.
She is.
And then I also picture the moment where Selena walks into the ball to Love and War by Fleury. That's also very good.
Yeah. Good music references, darling.
Thank you, thank you.
In terms of fan art, first up, we've got Thalia_art_, which is Selena in Elena and Gavin's tomb.
Oh my god, and that's Gavin the sword.
There's
Yes,
Gav.
Gavin.
Sup,
Then
bro?
we've got Natalia Tez Moon, which is the OG trio of Kale, Selena and Dorian. We've also got one of our favourites, Melon Drawers, which I've been waiting to bring her up, and it's the Yulmas Ball. She's also done one of the OG trio as well, which is very cutesy. We've got Elfrica Arts. She's done
this is
Nemea.
amazing.
Oh my god.
Yeah, she's got some gorgeous ones. And then, of course, Dominique Wesson.
Oh,
She's done one of Kale. And then, of course, we've got Poe_Jainter, which she actually did a set of dust jackets, apparently, and this is the first one, which is for the Throne of Glass book. And that's just got kind of the whole crew. It's very movie poster vibes. But yeah, some fan art for you all to keep going.
amazing.
Well, that's it, y'all.
Book one, done. We'll be back. Obviously, we thought maybe we could do the smaller books in one episode, but we talked too much shit, so that's just not going to happen. So every book is going to be split into at least 2 parts. And we'll be back next time with part 1 of Crown of Midnight. Woo!
Very exciting. In the meantime, make sure you check us out on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe, leave a review. That's how we get into more people's ears, which is what we like to do.
We like to get in your crevices.
We do.
Yeah, all in your crevices.
I don't know what this
All up
is.
in there.
Don't know what this is.
Yeah, why are you doing that with your hands?
Oh, God. All right,
It's like a cup.
I don't know what would sit in this cup.
It's an unusual cupping motion. Just specifying for our audio-only listeners who are like, what in the fuck are they doing now?
Yeah, look, we don't even know at this point, so we're going to leave it here. We'll see you all next week for book 2. Have a lovely week, everyone.
Yay! Bye.
Bye.